As the last example, let's take a look at our array map function. So before I can use a array map function, I need an array. So I'm going to create a array of first names, and then I'm going to use the map function to add last name to the elements of that array. So I'm going to create an array. I'll say let Lannisters, and then my array is going to contain 3 elements. Okay, this is my array. This has 3 elements inside. I'm going to use the map function to add a last name to the contents or the elements of this array. Okay, now how do we do that? We create our map function. So how do we do that? Remember, the map function is going to return a new array. So I'm going to create a new array, and I will say new Lannisters. And I'm going to perform the array manipulation using the map function. Now remember, the map function is a higher order function. Why? Because it takes as a parameter another function. The parameter or the argument that you need to pass over here should be another function. What is that function going to do? It is going to update or perform a map operation on that array. So let's go ahead and create another function that we are going to pass into our map function. So we'll say const, and I will call this update Lannisters. I'm using the arrow function syntax. Remember, the function that we have to pass inside our map function is going to have 3 optional parameters: the value, the index, and the array itself. So in this case, we are going to ignore the other 2. We are just interested in the value, so I'm going to use that parameter. Okay, now in my function, what am I going to do? I'm going to update the elements of each elements of my array, and I'm going to add a last name to it. So I'm going to simply say whatever the value is, which is each element of the array, add last name to it, Lannister. So now all the contents of my array are going to have this as their last name. Now remember, this is just the function definition. We need to call this function. Basically, we need to pass this function inside our map function. Again, why? Because map is a higher order function which expects another function. So we are going to pass update Lannisters. The map function is going to call this function, update the values, and give us the new array. To verify that, let's go ahead and console log our array here, the new one, which is going to have the new data. I'm going to clear my console. I'm going to run this program. And at the bottom, you see that my original array was Cersei, Jamie, and Tyrion. And my new updated array using the map function has a last name added to it. So a map function, just like your other, for example, your for each, filter, reduce, they all are higher order functions. Now, you don't have to create a separate function and then pass it in over here. You can also do it in a short form way, which is what you will see mostly. So I'm going to comment this out. I'm going to copy the same name of the array. And I'm going to copy this definition. I'm going to remove this function. You can simply pass a function. You can create a function over here without actually creating a function separately. So I'm going to simply copy the definition from top, and I will say value arrow syntax value plus equal to Lannister. I'm going to format this. Now, in this case, we don't need this function. We don't need this definition or everything. The map function, you have done this in a single line. Remember, if you have a single parameter in your arrow function syntax, we don't need the parentheses around it. And if we only have a single line that is going to be returned, we don't need curly braces around it. So in this case, map function, which is a higher order function, is taking another function as an input. And the map function, basically what it does is it manipulates, it changes the array and returns you the new array. So in this case, we should still see the same result. The only thing is our code is now a single line of code instead of two lines and having a separate function.